Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, my people? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? What is good, my friends? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. 50 Manpreet Ozamrami, Lachlan Hamrik. How you doing today, everybody? How we doing? Everybody doing well? Text to speech time. Maybe in a little bit. Maybe I'll turn it on in a little bit after I get through chatting a little. If we're just hanging out or something, but no, I think we're gonna save it for Friday. Maybe later in the week, if things stay quiet, we'll do a little text to speech stream. But yeah, I'm just I need to still keep my mentals fresh. You know, I need to keep my mentals fresh. I'm feeling I'm feeling I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little like I don't know. I feel a little off. Feeling a little off today. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know what it is exactly. I feel a little bit off. I'm not sure the reason. No. Not like something's wrong with all the with info or deal. I'm talking personally. I have something. I just feel a little off today. A little like I don't know. Hard to put a word to it. Hard to put a word to it. It's like when some days you just feel like you can't get into like the rhythm of things. You know what I mean? Like you can't get that emotional like pull. I don't know what it is. I even slept pretty well last night, but some days you just get that like I don't know, man. How would I describe it? That's all I can say. Just that feeling of like you just don't feel the same. You know, sometimes I come in and bring some really good energy. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to be excited and all that. But sometimes when I do these the lives, I kind of get into it once I find a topic to feel a little more passionate about. But you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. You know, maybe I'm getting sick. Who knows? The full moon, yeah, maybe. No, I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. I don't have that energy. You know what I mean? Maybe I just haven't had an afternoon coffee. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. This is how I quietly tell you that the Mbumo deal has collapsed. Wait, no, that I didn't mean that. That's a joke. I didn't mean that. But anyway, I hope you're all doing pretty well today. I got a few things to coffees for closers. um, I love coffee. I do probably need a coffee. Sorry. My bad. My bad. My bad. No, but look, there was a few things that I do want to discuss today. First things first that I want to say, because I don't have a ton to discuss. Okay, I don't have a ton to discuss, but I do want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about Sancho for sure. I want to talk about Gyokeres. I want to talk about two things on it. I want to talk about what Andy Mitten said. I talked about that in my video I put out this morning because people got it completely wrong. Completely wrong. Well, that's us not signing Ekitike then. People got it completely wrong on what Andy Mitten said. I'm telling you that people got it so wrong. It kind of blows my mind because I was sitting there and I went on this big explanation yesterday, like and then I got to watch it about. I got to watch I watched the like the 2 minute clip afterwards, and what it does tell me. Let's just start on that. Let's start on that topic, okay? Um, let's start on that topic. One sec. Let's start with Gyokeres. Um, I watched the 2 minute clip of Andy Mitten after after I finished the live yesterday, and I was like, hang on a second, this is nothing like what was aggregated. You know what I'm saying? Like, firstly, it was poorly aggregated by Talksport, and then I think, did people even like? Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. All right, we're good. We're good. But no, it was like Talksport aggregated it themselves, and then it was just copy pasted. But did anybody actually watch that video? Because I did. I did. I watched it, and what he said was, that when he was there last Wednesday, today is Tuesday, yesterday was Monday, last Wednesday, he was there, and his name didn't come up when he was talking to people because they were talking about focusing on tens, not nines. That's why he said specifically that we were focusing on tens, not nines. That's the day we put the bid in for Brian Mbeumo. That's totally correct. Look, I've said before, Andy Mitten is a very, very good journalist, and that's why I don't ignore when people say shit. So I look at that and I think, it's weird because I know for a fact we're in for Gyokeres. Let's put it that way, right? I know for a fact. But at the same time, Andy Mitten is a very good journalist, so I wanted to know why he says that, so I actually listened to what he said. I don't have any disagreement with what he said. We were not, and then he later on said, we're not actively chasing, or he said we're not actively trying to sign, we're not actively trying to sign Gyokeres right now, as of Wednesday, and that is also totally correct. We're not even actively trying to sign Gyokeres today. Maybe as of yesterday we made some calls, but we're not actively trying to sign him. And Andy Mitten is it being how he speaks. He's a very he says things literally when it comes to transfers, but he also doesn't follow them every single day. He doesn't even like doing that. So it's all good to me. So no, I listened to what he said. Didn't have any disagreement with it. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense what he says. No disagreement at all. And yeah. But it does not in the slightest imply that we're not going to go for him. He also said that that it'll change likely as we want to get players out. Streets are saying the energy is energying after the phone call. I just had to figure out something to talk passionately about. That's all. He said that it'll change as we want to get players out. And I did listen to Laurie's thing this morning, and he did talk about Gyokeres. He did talk about him a few minutes in. That's why I was like, it's kind of weird because your colleagues are talking about him. And in the Athletic piece this morning, hold on. You guys see the Athletic piece this morning. There's a couple interesting things I want to cover from that. What was the phone call about? What was the phone call about? The phone call was asking for directions. To Lisbon. No, I'm just kidding. Fuck you. Wait, hold on. I'll show you. I don't know, hold on here. Look. Look. It says, this is from the deal sheet. Gives us that. Emmerm is still wanting a recognized number 9. His fondness for Victor Gyokeres is well established. The deal could prove difficult to do from a financial perspective before sales. And then it says, midfield and goalkeeper. And it also mentions that we have a bunch of extra money, more than we thought before on the thing. It's all good, man. Everything's all good. Everything is all good. We want Gyokeres. He's the main target there. We need the money. Laurie pretty much did say the same thing this morning, but that we need the money. I feel like Ineos have kept their cards close to their chest. I think so too, and I think that again, it was like um, after Delap, they a lot of people didn't know because Delap is in England and the info was coming from the other side. Everybody on Delap's side knew everything because his agents don't ever stop yapping. I probably shouldn't say that. This is why I don't get connections from agents because I say shit like that. But I said a few times his side was always talking. I said that about his agency. They do that. They talk a lot in the media. Running up a storm about the decision and all of that. They do all of that. I'll pull this tweet up in a second here. We'll talk about it. And so I think everybody knew from the Delap side, but these people don't have real sources on the Gyokeres side. You know what I mean? And yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'll pull that quote up in a second. It's basically the article from Portugal yesterday. By the way, while you're here, smash a like on the video. Let's get more people coming in. Let's get more people coming in here. It helps, like I said. But yeah, look, I think the reality of the fact is that on United transfers and the direction of travel, I don't think many people do know where we're going and what we're doing. You know what I mean? I don't think people do. I think that it's been really, really quiet, and mostly it's coming via the agents on the sides of the players because the club is giving out nothing. You know what I mean? It's giving out nothing. So all of the info that's mostly coming out there solidly is coming via the club are not saying this is what we're targeting, this is what we're targeting, this is what we're going for. They're not saying anything through the major club channels. Now, how do you know? Good question, David. And I can't totally tell you that, but I have explained before that where my information sits is different. I'm not there. Look, if I was there in person every single day, if I was there in person every single day, then I'd be getting information a bit differently. I mean, I would still have the sources I have, but I'd be getting information a bit more directly. And that direct information is what the club are okay with putting out there. You understand? And that's fine. I'm not downplaying that. But they're not saying anything. And so everything that's coming out is coming from other areas. Matt G, thoughts on the Gazzetta dello Sport story on Osimhen seems like clickbait, agent driven. I didn't see that. I presume it's something about United, but I don't think we've done anything on that at this point in time. Fab and Ornstein aren't there either, just have sources. That is correct. So but most of the journalists around, when Issa and Hamza are agreeing, you know that it's the worst take in the history of football. That's how you know to think the exact opposite when they're on the same page. But regardless, like that again, that's what I was talking about yesterday, that I really respect, what Fabrizio's doing, because to me, it's about finding out where we're going before things are being officially released. And that's what I do, is the direction of travel before things are being confirmed. So, we knew that, that we were going for people on, we knew we were going for people on the outside of Dilap. What are your thoughts on Rio not rating Gyokeres as a solution for them at 10? I'll talk about that specifically. Yes, Jason. I'll talk about that specifically in just a minute. For sure, I will talk about that here in a minute. Because, look, but that's why. So I think that a lot of times people don't know. And I think that, yeah, United are playing their cards pretty close to the chest on the whole thing and not letting people know. I did know, and I did say first, that when we didn't get the lap, that the immediate move was going to be Mbumo, and that would be plan A, push that through. But let's look at this quote really quick, and then I'll talk about Rio, and I have a few things pulled up. I I'll pull a few things up on I'll pull a few things up on Gyokeres, and I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it. But I'll talk about what he's especially good at, because I think it's crazy the level of negativity that gets out there. So Fabrizio spoke about this. We covered this mostly in that article yesterday. He's saying there was an agreement between the player's agents and Sporting that the player would be allowed to leave for around 65 million euros. That's a great price, depending on terms and installments. Why this agreement and not playing the value? Because he's serious and professional. He stayed despite offers. In January, he had a chance to leave but decided to stay. Therefore, out of appreciation, Sporting then agreed to let him leave for this reasonable sum. But now, the club is asking for a higher amount, perhaps up to 80 million euros. And for this reason, the player not be happy with the club's behavior, which makes the situation tense. Let's see what happens. But I still see Victor Gyokeres leaving Sporting this summer. Now, an interesting thing I will tell you about that in January is that United were interested in January too. Maybe that was one of them, people. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But look, let's talk about Gyokeres at the moment. Let's talk about Rio's opinion. I listened respectfully. He watched 2 games in the Champions League for Sporting against Arsenal and City. You don't see a little bit of the problem there. If you're watching Sporting, who have revenues lower than Arsenal and City's transfer budget, and he got a hat trick against City, so it's kind of ironic, isn't it? But if you're watching them against those teams, you're not getting a picture of what a player can do. You're not getting a picture of what a player can do and especially because international football is kind of meaningless. You know what I mean? And he scored a hat trick against City. It's like, hold on a second. But my point is, I can understand. You watch those 2 games and you say it's just a man on the run. It's really funny. It is really funny because I watched that same dumbass on not Rio, but that same dumbass on Twitter who consistently pushes certain hate campaigns against players, post what he thought was a fail comp of Gyokeres against Arsenal. That's a good comp. That was a good comp. What that showed you was a player in Gyokeres going against 2 of the best center backs in Europe. And he was still making things happen on his own with 0 team support. He turned him, he hit the post, he was getting by him on multiple occasions. Like, you're talking about a guy going against the best center backs in Europe. Like someone's saying, Lamine Yamal got shut down by Nuno Mendes. That makes it a bad game? That makes him a bad player? No. It's ridiculous. It was a good comp, but all it tells me is people don't know what a striker is and what a striker is supposed to be. If you watch that comp and you think that's a bad striker, you are fucking thick. Like, that was a very, very good comp. If you watch Højlund, a comp of Højlund against Arsenal, you won't see any of that. You won't see him turning. You won't see him getting by. You won't see him pressing them constantly and all by himself. Højlund won't touch the ball. A bad striker won't even touch the ball in the situations that the player was receiving him in. He hit the post, he got shots off, he got good free kicks, he got a good transitional chance that he didn't finish. Like, that was a good composition. It was a really, really good example of what good striker play looks like. That's what it is. So, and what's even funnier too, is if you also look at like if you also look at the ones on like his goals for Sweden, on the things like no box presence, things like that. 4 out of his 9 goals all tap-ins. The only reason he doesn't score goals he is only scoring goals in transition. The only reason is because Sporting people are only watching them in the Champions League when they're not a possession team. When they're playing in Portugal and they have 60% possession, how's he scoring 50 goals? That's not on the counter. It's not on the break, But it's all good. It's all good. Look, it is what it is. We'll just hit him with this. Genuinely don't have a fucking clue, man. We'll just hit him with that. We'll just hit him with that. We'll just hit him with that. That's the truth. That's the reality. Just for you, if you don't understand it, if you ain't getting it. Fabrizio says 40% Rashford to Barcelona. Nice. Okay. Nice. Okay. But the other factor is, and it's the biggest things, he scored goals from similar positions where Højlund was, and then he didn't have a shot. He's a much better killer in the Prem. Bonjour. No, but the reality is too, is like one of the biggest takes that is to me just incredibly wrong. It's so wrong, is that is this idea like, well, he's not going to get those kinds of spaces and things like that in the Premier League. Oh, he won't get those goals, and people start cutting those things down. He won't get those goals, won't get those spaces, won't do anything. He makes those happen. You know, that is the truth of it. And I've shared this before, but I want to show you the piece on this, okay? And it's from this, and it's such a good thread, and it's such a good piece of data. And now what's really funny is go back to this day when David Ornstein first linked this strong interest in Arsenal to Gyokeres, and look at what people were saying. I don't know if you will be there. Hamza, you're gonna get a 10-minute mute. It just gets annoying at a certain point. It just gets annoying. I'm not here for people hating on players that we're trying to sign. I think it's toxic. I don't want it. It's a warning to you too, Issa. I mean it. It actually does get irritating after a certain point. The reaction at this time was a lot worse, a lot different. Suddenly it was a great signing, an amazing player that was going to scare everybody off. You go look at the replies versus today, by the way. But if you go back, and you look at this is a really, really, really interesting thread. All right. And it's talking about how the intensity in football has increased so much. All right. And it talks about, here, let's take a look at this. And it's talking about like sprints, and it's talking about all these kinds of things, and how basically, you know, Gyokeres is essentially like just going absolutely crazy on how hard he works and how many runs he makes. You know what I mean? And if you look at all these charts, he called it like a power forward, right? And this is what sprint velocity versus runs in behind. Okay, when a player moves like this and just does so much moving, so much running 24/7, he create gaps because defenders are not used to that kind of pressure. The reason Højlund is bad isn't his touch, it's not his shooting, it's his movement. He has no movement. He puts zero pressure on the defense. Absolutely none. Nah, man, it's just filling the chat up with toxic nonsense. It's just filling it up. You know what you're doing. Yeah, basket power forward, right? But it is somebody like and Cavani's a really good example, Andrew, because Cavani was often not the best shooter. Actually, if you look over his career, Cavani was a really, really hit or miss shooter. You know what I mean? Throughout his career, what he was very good at was moving all the time, moving 24/7, moving constantly, moving all over the place, never stopping. Movement makes strikers work kind of no matter what, and that's statistically where Gyokeres does a really good job. And what he does, what he does really well. And like you said, he's fast as hell. Only 5 players recorded a faster sprint. Only 4 made more sprints per match. Only 2 covered more sprinting distance. And only 1 recorded a quicker top 3 time to sprint. So the point is, he just runs like a madman. You cannot defend against a player who does that. I mean, the hilarious part of all of this The hilarious part of all of this, hold on, I'm going to pull something up, is that even a so-called flop, even a so-called flop, hold on, I'll show you, who don't get me wrong, he was. But look at these numbers. I want to show you something crazy here, right? Let's go. Hang on, let's do it. I show you just how big important movement is, right? Let's take a look at it. Here, let's go. Here we go. All right, look. In Darwin Nunez, because the trait that Darwin has that is exceptional is his movement. And if you look at his numbers, even in his first season, not really as a striker, and only 1,700 minutes. You understand that? 1,700 minutes, right? Oops. All right, hold on. I'll do a filter of something here. Hold on one sec. Let's do this. Let's go minimum, like 1,500 minutes or something, so it gets rid of that. Look, Darwin Nunez accumulated the third most expected goals per 90 in the entire Premier League his first season at Liverpool. What does that mean? That means he was getting himself in position to score constantly, all the time. The problem is he couldn't shoot for shit. Look at the number of goals he scored compared to his XG, right? That was the problem, is he has poor finishing. He's not a good finisher, but he moves like crazy. And so even in a team that was strong, dominant, this is not a deep block team in Liverpool. It is a team who plays fast, and so should we. He gets himself in position to score. That is how XG works. He gets himself in position to score and gets the ball into those positions more often. Then you go to 23-24, and you look at it. He accumulated, here we go again. He was in the top 10 in XG accumulation, and among forwards, again, 7th in the entire league. And it's the same thing. Let's go 1,500 minutes, and again, only in 2,000 minutes. If you look at the expected goals per 90, he was once again third. So this means but you look at his finishing, 11 goals only out of 19. So he's an awful finisher, but a player who runs like crazy and works his ass off creates a lot of XG. They do. They will get into those positions where you want them to be, and they will find a way to get themselves in front of goal. That's just hard work and good movement. That's just what hard work and good movement does. Players who have that, you can never write off. That's why I'm very, very confident on him in particular, okay? Because, take a look at this, and he's in another stratosphere, right? When you look at the striker runs and things like that, look, there's Nunez, by the way. Here, let's find it. Look, there's Nunez. You can see that what I'm saying isn't bullshit. Nunez creates a lot because he moves like crazy. Haaland creates a lot because City create a lot. He has better numbers than Watkins and Tony in the Championship, plus data from the Champions League are good. Most of the arguments are lazy. I agree. So my point being, this is what strikers who can, and he moves more than anybody. Like he's just insane. I mean, look at these numbers, man. These are players that accumulate a lot of chances because of their movement, but they don't finish. And so him doing what he does and finishing is different. But you'd be amazed. You look at someone like Nunez and you say, well, here's a player who's like, somehow, even though he's not good, you watch him, he's always finding spaces that you're never going to get in the Premier League. Osimhen's here. He's right here. He has good movement. He's in the elite bracket of movement, Osimhen, right? I think the rest of his game is more complete. That's why I take Osimhen over anybody, right? My point being is that it's the specific critique that comes up about how he won't get those chances in the Premier League. He will. He will. Not as many. He's not going to score 50, but he will, because players who can run, players who put pressure on defenses 24/7, which is what he does, they always find spaces. How on earth does Darwin Nunez, being who he is, find so many gaps in the defense to where he's constantly able to miss tap-ins because he finds the gaps? Like, if you watch Darwin, you think, well, people can't defend him. Well, they can't, because players with elite movement, who are fast, who are aggressive, who sprint, who run like crazy, always succeed in creating chances and in finding chances. If they can finish is the other story. And that is the biggest question. And it's also how they manipulate the defense for others, especially when you're adding to the fact that you have Mbumo and Cunha who would be playing next to him, taking a lot of the attention away, and also in vice versa, him taking attention away from them. But seriously, I would challenge you to find a single player, who's like, I mean, ironically, like Ollie Watkins obviously shows up on that as being a player who runs a lot and sprints a lot. And I mean, let's look at Ollie Watkins. Let's look at Ollie Watkins, because Ollie Watkins is at worst a slightly worse version of Gyokeres. Look at his numbers, man. Look at what this guy accumulates. First of all, his goal scoring is pretty good, 16, 19, 15. These aren't bad, but he finishes below XG every year, right? He's got good. He accumulates tons of XG, and the only reason Watkins does that is because of his movement. Because of his movement at times, because he does sprint and run a lot. Do I think Watkins is great? No, but I think the point is that any striker who can move at an elite level and sprint will create chances for their team. And Watkins is a good example of that. If he was a better finisher and he was more consistent, then I think he would do better. I see someone like Ollie Watkins being the floor for Gyokeres, and I think it's a good comparison. I think someone like Ollie Watkins is the floor, because he's not nearly as much as a bozo as he's not nearly like a bozo that Darwin is. Like, he doesn't have that problem going for him, and he's also older and more established. But Watkins, I think Ollie Watkins is the floor for the type of player that Gyokeres can be. I think he will be better than that, but I think this is the floor. And I mean, even if we got that, I would take that right now. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I would take Ollie Watkins tomorrow. I'm not saying he's the best player, but I would certainly take him. Like Jota. Yeah, Jota's a good example. I think I can see if Jota's on that chart. I'll check back there in 1 second. But, I mean, per minute, Jota accumulates a lot of chances too. Let's see if it's on one of these. Here we go. There. So look, like Marmoush was at the top of this, by the way, and Šeško is up there, but that's just speed. And that's Bundesliga. That's why they're showing up there. Fair enough. Okay. Oh no. Oh yeah, here we go. Let me see if I can find it a little bit better. I mean, you can read this article. It's crazy, but you can see Nunez and Osimhen are up at the top right here. Percentage of striker runs in behind, peak sprint velocity. Okay, let me see if Ekitike is on here. Look at Højlund. He's all the way down here. No wonder, man. Like, you look at him, he's way down here, and your good strikers, as you go up here, you're getting a lot of good players. Here we go. Nunez, Openda, Jackson, Gyokeres, Jota Silva, Šeško, Son, Marmoush. Interesting. Oh, I see. Then this bar is how many runs in behind. Okay. That's cool. I don't know if I can't find Ekitike on here, because he's probably not in this bracket of player. But, Ollie Watkins is. This is looking at like this is like trying to find other good players here. They said that Coventry signed Bassett as a similar player to Gyokeres, which is interesting. And then you got like Armstrong, Sinclair Armstrong. Interesting. Anyway, it's a cool article, I think, but it's one of those things that makes me feel very confident that that he will be successful in this league, and like what is the floor for him? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things that just make me feel good about it, because it's like, sure, there's always variance, but players who work well, let me just check something. It was I put it in the chat here. Hold on, I'll link you the thing in the chat so you can read it yourself. It's a good article. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite articles I've read this year, because I like I'm not a huge like tactico on that front. I don't like a lot of stuff that's too tactical, but I really do like when looking at individual players and what they bring to the table and analyzing them, because I think it's far too complicated to assess individuals in different systems, as to the system. But I think it's a lot easier to assess an individual in terms of their skill set. You know what I mean, and what they actually bring to the table and why. A decent striker improves a significant. Anyone putting your nose up on Gyokeres is crazy. I hope we agree. Deal soon. Big up, James. Thank you, Lil Yo-Yo. How many you expect? I would think that first season he'll get 15 to 20, and I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I think that would be good enough, considering that I think that, we're going to get not fewer chances, but like, because it's so spread out, you know what I mean? Like, because we have a lot more attackers, we'll do, I guess what I'm saying is, like, because we have a lot more attackers, there's going to be more spreading of the chances than there were before. You know what I'm saying? Like, with more support, other players scoring, then I think he'll need less. I'm moved. I take it back. Thank you. I'm just trying to share the facts. I don't base my opinion to, but all I want to say is this about that. All right. My biggest argument on the whole, let me fix my camera, on the whole Gyokeres thing is this. I watched him in Portugal a lot. Okay. I watched him in Portugal a lot. If you don't watch Portugal games in the Portuguese league, you will have the wrong impression of what Victor Gyokeres is. Okay, you will have the wrong impression on what he is. That's what I would say. I think it's you will have the wrong impression of what he is if you only watch the Champions League. Damn. If you only watch that, because it is a very, very different style. In the Champions League, they were a sit back and counter team. At Sporting, it was really, really different. Really, really different. That's all I'm saying. And you'll get a lot better impression of the variety of what he can do and how influential those runs are. Because if you watch the comps and you'll see, oh, he's running at defenses, in these huge spaces, and there's defenders nowhere near him and stuff. But it's hard to show how often he creates those situations with what he is doing. How do you watch Portugal games here in England? Same way you watch them here in the US. Very legally. Very legally. Very legally. You watch very legal subscription-based streams. So, yeah. And I think that people don't realize that, like, Portuguese defenses do defend deep. Actually, quite often. They do load the box. So, yeah. But anyways, it's cool. I saw that Fabrizio also said that, a 40% chance of Rashford to Barcelona because there are not talks as of yet, right? I do think that's still one that I think it'll get done in the end, that Rashford will go to Barcelona. I think it'll get done in the end. And again, on Gyokeres, the talks are or I guess there's been contact. We need to get our deal done. We need to get our deal done on Mbumo, and then we need to get some of these sales. And speaking of which, let's talk about Jadon Sancho, right? Let's talk about Jadon Sancho. Obviously, Jadon Sancho, how long do we risk waiting? Not too long, because I think that he's going to fall to us, essentially. And it puts more pressure on Sporting, too. You know what I mean? To not go back on their original agreement. But Jadon Sancho, it seems like he's his best bet is going back to Dortmund for the third time, to return to Dortmund, where he's seemingly happy, where he's seemingly, doing his thing, where he seemingly can get results, where they like him, where they do all of that. And I guess they're interested in him again. Now, I think this might depend a little bit where the football is easy. Well, and look, we'll see how Mr. Squirts does. You know what I mean? We'll see how Mr. Squirts does. because when Jadon Sancho can keep going back to Dortmund, and you know, I did watch Nunez a lot. Yeah, I did. Um, I guess here's the question that I would say on Dortmund. Right here's the thing financially. All right, on the Sancho deal, which I explained this morning. All we really need is 10 million to get this deal done. We don't need a big fee. I think we'll ask for more than that for sure. I think we will ask for more than that, but I think all we need is 10 million. I think that we will ask for more, but that'll work for us at the end of the day, and that might be um, that might be. Oh yeah, and while we're here, go. This is a good idea. Someone was saying this. The United View guys do this. Someone tagged me on it. Um, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make these polls and leave them up, and you can't do anything about it. you gotta like, just as a reminder. I seen them doing that. It's a good idea. That way I don't have to remember to ask so many times. But thank you. Someone. Well, I don't know how to connect people's names. I don't know. Oh, it's you, Aaron. Okay, thanks, Aaron. I didn't even see. I didn't notice it was you, buddy. But thank you. You're one of the people who actually uses their name. Hold on, I was just trying to find something. But look, we don't need a lot of money to get Sancho back to Dortmund, okay? And obviously it works there. Now, do they need to sell Gittins in order to make this happen? I don't know. Obviously, they've been rejecting a bunch of deals from Chelsea over Gittins, but they're going to keep working on that. I guess we'll find out. You know what I mean? I guess we will find out soon if if you have more than 220 saying yes, someone's lying. Yeah, that's funny. I guess we'll find out soon if they're going to actually make that kind of sale. But what I would say is that I definitely, this seems like the way that we need to go. This seems like this is going to be the best route out of United. Just to get bailed out by the Dortmund thing again. I was trying to find something. Damn it. Somebody tagged me in something earlier that I wanted to bring up, but I forgot about it. Shoot, that's fine. That's the biggest one. We only need 10 million plus. His wages are not really 350,000 a week. I'm pretty sure it's like it's more like 200 to 250 without Champions League. He only has 1 year left. Realistically, we probably need to pay him off 5 million or something like that to sweeten it. But I think that's I guess the question is why. I still don't get why he turned Chelsea down, but Dortmund might offer the only route out, frankly. And maybe he wants to go there. Maybe he likes going there. Obviously, he seems to. And, that he'll accept a reasonable wage there that'll help make this deal happen. So that's a good one. I wanted to mention Donnarumma because we got these rumors now about Donnarumma. And far as I'm hearing, I'm going to play the rumors down. That's the direction that I would push them to. I'm not saying United haven't had an interest in him, but the rumors are mostly being played up as he's as he wants a new contract. And that's pretty obvious, to be honest, right? Like I'm not really bringing you something crazy, but I can confirm they're being played up, specifically played up from how real they are. So I don't think we'll sign Donnarumma. I mean, I'd be really surprised if we were to do that. Not that, again, that's a big surprise, but I don't think we've really, we've checked on goalkeepers and things like that, but I think that one's being played up a bit. Sancho's how you found this channel. Yeah, I mean, I started on Twitter back then and during the original Sancho saga and all that. And that's when we knew fuck all and we're getting most everything wrong for a while. and then that's when the original Sancho saga is what improved where I started to really work on improving and getting better sources towards the end of that summer. That's when things changed a lot. So yeah, Donnarumma, I don't think that's gonna happen. And then on Antony. As far as I know, I said it again this morning. As far as I know, Betis are coming back in for a deal um, for Antony, and we're expecting a new offer from Betis in the coming days. So, and there was an article on this that I was trying to find because I've been saying this since last week that we were expecting this. And I'm trying to find the article because something came out today confirming that, and now I can't find it. And someone tagged me overnight in this because a new piece came out just today on it. Well, a new offer, I would say new contacts. Like, hold on, let me see if I can. Damn. Just hold on. Here we go. All right, I found it. Hang on. All right, I found it. I found who shared it with me earlier. It says, it's one of the more local Spanish papers. Here we go. I'll pull it on stream here in 1 sec, okay? I'm just trying to fix it so that I can read it. All these sites, man, and all the fucking things that they spam you with whenever you click them just drive me crazy. Yeah, they're getting money for Cardoso. Here, here we go. So it says that the meeting between Betis and Manchester will take place in the next few hours. So I don't know if that's a literal translation or not, but So then it says there will be meeting with United. After Antony's agents and family members were in Sevilla last week negotiating, exploring agreements. The next step is discuss and propose different solutions. So it says that they're going to meet with us in England. Maybe we could find the flights from here. Maybe we could find those flights. You know what I mean? That might help. Might. No, I don't want to accept an advertisement to keep reading. Are you kidding me? Discover recipes. All right. So the intention is to secure a loan with option to buy, setting 20 to 25 million, and then you're buying only 60%. Essentially, that gives you like a 40% sell-on fee. I mean, these offers look terrible, right? That's essentially the main issue, is that these offers look terrible. But they're gonna have to come up with a lot more than that, probably with some kind of obligation or something like that. So yeah, but they're still in for him, and I think that's a good thing if they're still in for him because there's interest from Leverkusen as well. That there's talk from Germany about them making an offer that's maybe in the 20-25 range, and I think that I would still take that. That would help. So I'm expecting that we get some offers from Betis and Leverkusen. Here, I'll send you the link, okay? If you want it here. Anyway, yeah, so I think we're expecting offers from them and Leverkusen for Antony, and one of those would make a big difference. But look, we need some sales. We really need something to go through here because any of these deals help us in the progress towards getting to being able to afford Victor Gyokeres. And all of the word on Gyokeres seems to be that it's financial. You know, that's the main thing, right? Hell of a chat last night, James. Yeah, all good. Thanks, Robbie. Just the squirts money, exactly. So yeah, I guess we will find out. Yeah, I saw that Ten Hag's agent, and that was such I mean, just complete bullshit. Why? How come we sell happen so late? The reason is generally the wages. I mean, why is Sancho not sold? Wages. Why is Rashford not sold? Wages. Why is Antony not sold? Also, big part of it, wages. All contracts given before the new regime was in place. There's a reason we need to balance the books so much better on our wages, and it's because not only does it save you money, but if you have to turn around and sell a player and you're paying them 200,000 plus a week, it's so hard for people to do it. Casemiro, same thing, wages. All the wages given out by the old regimes in place have completely screwed us on selling players. That's the reason. It's that simple. I mean, Ericsson probably would have been sold if it wasn't for wages, but nobody was going to pay him 150,000 a week when he can't even play. Yeah, the payoff would be a little bit less. So yeah, I mean, we need the money. We need some of these sales to come through. So it's good to hear some about Rashford. It's good to hear, that there's at least talk and noise on Antony. There's talk and noise on Sancho, and there is talk and noise on Garnacho. Now, I said over the weekend that they were pushing on these sales, so I'm not surprised we're starting to see some noise stir up. We've seen new news on almost everybody on the sales front, but we do need some of them to move forward. I think that definitely helps. Loan and obligations do help us a lot, certainly. Certainly, loans and obligations would be okay. Højlund going has, we're waiting to see if Inter are going to bring that kind of offer we want. So, yeah, it's fine, more, but that just makes it hard because then we need more money to pay off the wages to make it worthwhile. That's the issue, essentially. So we're seeing a lot of the movement on sales, but, it's going to be hard. They're not necessarily going to all be fast. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Garnacho. On Garnacho, I think that he's going to be in for a surprise, and I think many are, that we're not going to get any big offers for him. I think that our best bet is going to be getting 40 million plus add-ons for Garnacho. And I don't think the clubs he wants to come in for him are going to come for him. And I genuinely think we're going to enter July, and he's going to have to go, unless it happens sooner, they're not coming for me. And that's why I think Ruben Amorim knows this. His behavior has not impressed Premier League clubs. It's not United ruining that. It's his behavior. And they had to make it pretty clear. Chelsea, I told you already, you read that Chelsea piece, they already had concerns in January about his attitude. United weren't the problem here. United weren't the problem. People know about him. Like, you think we know about him. You think we know about the attitude issues because of what we've seen in public. Imagine what is known by players behind the scenes about some of the issues and some of the things that happen, because there's more. There's more, right? Like, what you see on the outside is a tip of the iceberg. Players know. Players talk. People in the industry talk about this kind of stuff. So, Napoli have already moved on as far as we know, and are targeting other people. That's what it looks like anyways. Otherwise, they would have probably come in for him already. Chelsea had concerns about his attitude in January, and that's why they're going for Gittins. Arsenal, they're going for Nico Williams and Šeško. They're not going to buy Garnacho after Nico Williams. So I think he's going to be a very, I think it's going to be rough. Genuinely, I think it's going to be really rough for him to find a deal that's worthwhile. And if Leverkusen are coming in, I think he's going to have to accept that he may not get a move in England that he wants, because that's what he wants. Fair enough. He may want that, but he might have to accept something else. That's my point. I think he can get a move in the continent, but I think it'll be at max 40 million. And I think that I think it'll be max 40 million, and I think he's going to have to learn to appreciate that. And maybe it'll be good for him, you know? That's what I think would be good for him, is to just recognize, I don't want him to fail. I don't want him to flop. I don't want him to do poorly personally. And I really don't. It's not like that. But I think that for his career to go right, he's going to have to accept he's not as good as he thinks he is. Because the first barrier, the first, like, I don't know, the first thing he's going to have to figure out is, like, how do I get this? Like, the first problem he's got to solve for himself to become better is to recognize that he needs to improve. You know what I mean? That he's not the shit. That's like number one. You know, is that self-recognition and take time. You know, to understand, like, if you're on the bench, it's a learning experience to figure out what you actually need to get better at. Like, here's the point, right? Kid gets benched. Someone gets benched. There's two ways you can approach that as an individual. You can say, it's unfair. I shouldn't be on the bench. I deserve to be playing. It doesn't make sense, and feel like you're aggrieved by it, right? That's how he feels. Or you can be put on the bench and you can say, why am I on the bench? What did I do that got me on the bench? What things do I need to improve to get off the bench? And work on those things. And those are the two different ways you can approach life in general. And people who have it generally figure it out the second way. And they work on it and they improve and they get better and better. And the people that don't kind of fail, you know, the people that go the first route fail unless they get just so lucky with talent and ability that it all works out. But, you know, it's too often the second type of it. So no, I don't want him to fail. But I do think it would be potentially helpful if he had to really face it and accept that, you know, maybe he can't just demand any club in England, and that maybe they have the same concerns that Amram does. I mean, Amram's not stupid, and he didn't drop him for no reason. So that's all. It's like other clubs will see it too. Other clubs will see it too, and they will say, you know, so he's got to learn that. Crazy didn't learn from the first time he got dropped. No, and you know, it's unfortunate because it could have been better. It could have been better. Things could have been different these days. They could have been different. So yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to discuss. Otherwise, that's about it. We talked quite a lot about Gyokeres. I'm feeling super positive. I guess I have to do a video on Gyokeres, don't I? I should probably do a video. I probably should. I don't want to do. I don't like doing videos before it's advanced. Like, I only did Cunha once I was sure we were getting him. I only did Mbuma once I was sure we're getting him, or at least like once he chose us. You know what I mean? And we were entering those negotiations. I want to do a video on Gyokeres and cover all those things that I showed in the live and quite a lot of other stuff. But I don't know. I feel like it's too early. Because I do that, then people think I'm saying we're signing him for sure, and it's not that close at this point. I guess I just, maybe if I title it, like, why they want him and why he would be successful, you know what I mean? If we joined. But I'll probably make that at some point here soon. Maybe I'll do it anyways. I mean, screw it. How about a video on Diego Leon? I can't because I don't know anything about him. Gyokeres video similar to what you did for Delap. True. I could do that. I could do that. You know what I could make is, like, I could just do it, like, I could frame it as the Gyokeres debate. You know what I mean? Maybe I frame it that way. No, for sure, Naveen. The blame has to be on the academy. I think it's too late. Ten Hag gave in far too much to Garnacho. Because I think when Garnacho came into the team, he was better than he is today. His first season as a bench player, as an impact sub, I think he was genuinely a better player than he is today. But I don't know. It's just it's hard to blame the club or even Ten Hag when he did the same thing to Ten Hag last season. So it's like you can't always change. Like there's nature versus nurture. Like the club didn't raise him from 7 years old. The club, he only signed after Atletico. He was already 15, 16 by that point, right? So core personality traits are sometimes already there. You know what I mean? But I look at it like Kobbie Mainoo, and I think we haven't heard a peep from him, and he's a better talent. So, that's okay. We haven't heard a peep from Kobbie Mainoo publicly, and he's a better talent than Garnacho, but he's been at the club longer, so I respect that. I don't think United can totally be to blame. It's not, again, it's like, he probably shouldn't start. We have been starting so much, but he was looking for a move even in his second season, man. I've said that before. That's the part that sticks out to me, is that he was looking for a move even in his second season. Like, it was your second season, 19 years old, and you're looking for a move because you're behind Marcus Rashford? Like, come on, man. That it's hard to blame the club in those circumstances. It is. It's hard to blame them, but I also get that side of it too. But yeah, ideally we keep kids out of the line, just like we do with, like I'm hoping we're doing with Kobbie Mainoo, and that it works out well. Agreed with that too. So hopefully it works out with Kobbie Mainoo, and he becomes like Scholes at 22. He blows up and does everything. What's this rift between Gyokeres and Sporting? Yeah, I covered it already, and essentially just disagreements over his payment terms. Over his and look, you could see it as a bad thing, you could see it as a good thing. I always say I see it as a good thing because I think Sporting will cave. They usually do. They are not in a position to refuse money for he's like their main sale this summer. And that he's putting that pressure on them, and we could even get a more favorable deal in that case if we end up doing it. So you could see it both ways. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. Tomorrow I'm gonna do live show in the morning to do some tactics discussion about how Mbeumo and Cunha fit with Darnish. That'll get posted. That'll be on Big Up, and then I'll post it on YouTube. I'll probably do the Gyokeres video tomorrow because I kind of feel like doing it. And then we'll go live if there's any transfer news. Otherwise, we'll just do those two things tomorrow. And that way, that'll get us some time. Because I just don't know if things are going to move particularly quickly. They could, but I don't want to. I need to either get some more news, or there needs to be more news in the media that's bigger, so I can follow it up to keep yapping. Otherwise, I don't have enough to talk about on Transfer Live for an hour. So tactics, Gyokeres, debate, all of that. I'll do that tomorrow instead of a live stream if we don't get any news. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out today. I'll see you later. Go watch the video earlier if you want a good summary of all the news that where things are at right now and keep you up to date.